Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to SFF180. It is Monday morning, March the 11th, and time once again for the mailbag. I have kind of let it sit for a couple of weeks, and consequently, there's a big one today. A whole lot of books, I guess new, recent, upcoming, so I don't really have any other announcements other than, each week, Thursday night, the reading hangouts have been going great. It's always wonderful to see my regular folks at those. It's a good time. So I've been enjoying those, and I'm glad you have too. And of course, over the weekend on Saturday, I posted a new book review. So go and check that out if you have not done so yet. But otherwise, yeah, without further ado, we can go ahead and get into this week's mailbag. So I haven't really taken the time to kind of subdivide everything up into publisher groups with this one. I'm just going to kind of go down the stack top to bottom, and this first one is looks like it is from HarperCollins. And this is one I am really happy to start off with. This is Moon of the Turning Leaves. The author is Waubgeshig Rice. He's an indigenous, I guess, First Nations Canadian writer. This one came out on the 27th of February, and this is set in a post-apocalyptic future. He's already done one novel in this future called Moon of the Crusted Snow, but this is not like a direct sequel. It is its own standalone story. It's just in the same future. Anyway, it says, in the wake of a blackout that caused a societal collapse, the community of Anishinaabe was forced to seek shelter in isolation. For over a decade, they've managed to survive by living off the land, the way their ancestors once did. But as the land fails and food dwindles, the community must search for fruitful soil once more. Unsure of what lays beyond the region of the bush, they assemble a scouting party. Gathered by hope for help, 6 members of the community, led by Evan Whitesky, venture into the unknown, their mission to go south towards the Great Lakes. Along their journey, they encounter many obstacles from the wilderness, but one they weren't anticipating: other survivors. Their journey becomes a gripping testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the enduring bonds of community. So yes, A Moon of the Crusted Snow was very well received, and so yeah, looking forward to this one. Came out on the 27th, Moon of the Turning Leaves. Okay, and next up, this one looks really interesting. Looks like an indie release. It is called The Jaguar Mask. The author is Michael J. DeLuca, and fascinating, very, very vivid cover. It says, a surreal fantasy novel from the Crawford finalist author of Night Roll. Okay. Philippe Kikab, or Kisab, I don't know, doesn't know who he is. He only knows he was born different than his human family, and he can't relax unless he's blasting reggaeton in his cab, weaving through the streets of Guatemala City. Okay. The Jaguar Mask and his other human faces keep him safe, until El Bufo, a corrupt ex-cop, commandeers his cab and drags Felipe into a murder conspiracy investigation, trying to expose the foreign-backed regime's ecocidal and genocidal past. Christina Ramos knows who her mother's killers are. After witnessing the murder in a vision, she struggles to keep her grieving family from falling apart. When El Bufo's relentless vendetta throws Philippe, into her life, amid increasing civil unrest, Philippe and Christina must overcome generations of institutionalized silence, uncover the secrets of their powers, and forge a path to justice, or else be swept away by another wave of violence. And this is it's fascinating thing. Michael, just who? Oh, okay. It's from Stelliform Press, the wonderful folks at Stelliform Press. Okay, I should have known, but it's and a very tiny type down there. All right, just being being very stealthy, Stelliform Press. But this one comes out on August the 1st. All right, so the Jaguar Mask. Something about this just sounds really intriguing. And next up, I have one of these giant vacuum-sealed packages that I always complain about. This one comes in from Random Penguin. Aha, and I'm very happy to have this. In fact, I've kind of been looking for this one for a little while, so I'm glad it finally turned up. But this is The Tainted Cup. This is the new book by Robert Jackson Bennett, who wrote Foundry Side and the rest of that trilogy, the Founders trilogy, and then the City of Stairs trilogy. And this, I'm not sure if it's a series opener or a standalone, but it's a gorgeous edition from Del Rey. This hardcover is actually, this is all printed on the naked hardcovers, which is, nice. I mean, I love dust jackets. They're beautiful, but they can sometimes be a real hassle to, keep them from getting damaged and what have you. But anyway, so the Tainted Cup. Let's see what we have. A Holmes and Watson-style detective duo take the stage in this fantasy with a mystery twist from the Edgar-winning, multiple Hugo-nominated Robert Jackson Bennett. Okay. In Daratana's grandest mansion, an Imperial officer lies dead, killed, to all appearances, when a tree erupted from his body. Even here at the Empire's border... The Lorax. The Lorax did it. He's the killer. I got it. I figured it out. See? You can't put one over on me. Anyway, even here at the Empire's borders, where contagions abound and the blood of the Leviathans works strange, magical changes, it's a death both terrifying and impossible. Assigned to investigate is Anna Delabra, a detective whose reputation for brilliance is matched only by her eccentricities. Rumor has it that she always wears a blindfold and can solve impossible cases without stepping outside the walls of her home. At her side is her new assistant, Denias Call, magically altered in ways that make him the perfect aid to Anna's brilliance. Din is at turns scandalized, perplexed, and infuriated by his new superior. But as the two close in on a mastermind and Anna makes one startling deduction after the next, he realizes that she is indeed the Empire's greatest detective, and wonders how long he can keep his own secrets safe from her piercing intellect. All right, well, this sounds like an absolute blast. So again, if you love the Founders Trilogy, I'm sure this one should be up high on your TBR. But the Tainted Cup is now available from Del Rey. Yeah, I vote for more hardcovers like this. Just do. Okay, so now I have, looks like a small handful of packages in from Random Penguin. Okay, well, I wasn't expecting this, but it's nice to have. This is Aftermarket Afterlife by Shawn McGuire. Probably the 328th book in the Encrypted series, or oh no, only the 13th. Sorry, got a little bit ahead of myself there. Anyway, this one came out on the 5th, and it says, yeah, from the winner of the 2023 Hugo. For Best Novella comes the latest in the series following the Price family, multiple generations of cryptozoologists who study and protect the creatures living in secret all around us. And Aftermarket Afterlife centers on Mary Dunleavy, the babysitting ghost who's been caring for the family since her own death in 1939. Set against the chaos of a family reunion and the beginning of a long-threatened war with the Price family's nemesis, the novel's events force Mary to confront a frightening question. What happens to a babysitting ghost if she loses the people she's promised to protect? Well, Shawn McGuire is just the unstoppable train, right? But, yep, this is available now from DAW Books. And next up, in the Random Penguin pile, I was not expecting to get a physical arc of this, but I'm overjoyed that I have. I don't know what it is, why I'm just very interested recently in litfic books that are also, though, speculative. I know that sometimes it's, these litfic authors go slumming in science fiction and what have you. But a lot of times what you get are stories that don't obey the rules because they're not coming from within, the bubble of the genre, as it were. So this one has looked very interesting to me for a while now. It is called This Great Hemisphere. The author is Mateo Askaripour. He had a debut novel a couple of years back called Black Buck, but this one, it says it is a speculative novel about a young woman invisible by birth and relegated to second-class citizenship who sets off on a mission to find her older brother, whom she had presumed dead, but who is now the primary suspect in a high-profile political murder. And yeah, so this is set 500 years in the future, and yeah, there are people who are just born invisible. And so I guess it is, all allegorical about, being in a marginalized minority group, right? That kind of thing. So, despite the odds, Sweet Mint, a young invisible woman, has done everything right her entire life. School, university, and now a highly sought-after apprenticeship with the Northwestern Hemisphere's premier inventor, a non-invisible man belonging to the dominant population, capital letters, who is as eccentric as he is enigmatic. But the world she has fought so hard to build after the disappearance of her older brother comes crashing down. I assume that means he's gone missing and is not just invisible. I mean, he may be invisible too, but I'm sure disappearance means they can't find him. Although if you're invisible, you'd probably be hard to find generally, but I'm sure the book works all of that out. So, he is also the main suspect in the murder of the chief executive of the Northwestern Hemisphere. A manhunt ensues, and Sweet Mint, armed with courage, intellect, and unwavering love for her brother, sets off on a mission to find him, before it's too late. With 5 days until the Hemisphere's big election, Sweet Mint must dodge a relentless law officer who's determined to maintain order, and an ambitious politician with sights set on becoming the next chief executive by any means necessary. With the captivating world-building of N.K. Jemison's novels and the blazing defiance of Naomi Alderman's work, This Great Hemisphere is a novel that brilliantly illustrates the degree to which reality can be shaped by non-truths and vicious manipulations, while shining a light on our ability to surprise ourselves when we stop giving into the narratives others have written for us. Okay, and so, yeah, very excited to read this, and it comes out on July the 9th. Okay, so now I have this big floppy envelope with, it looks like a couple of books in it, from Simon & Schuster. And that's what it was. A couple of physical arcs, in fact, from Saga Press. So nice to have. The first one here is for PINQUICKLE'S FOLLY. The authors are a Salvatore, veteran fantasy author, and this apparently is beginning a new series set in his Demon Wars saga universe, as it were. But apparently I think this one, again, it's a starting point if you're not familiar. So it says, what does it say? Yes, in PINQUICKLE'S Folly, New York Times bestselling author Ari Salvatore returns to his signature world of Corona, introducing a dynamic new part of the southern coast never written of before as a great starting place for readers in the Demon Wars saga. Okay, so there you go. Although, apparently, Saga did reprint, there were, I think, 4 original books in the Demon Wars series, and Saga did reprint those, I think, over the last few months. So, FYI. The first adventure in the Buccaneers trilogy begins in the free sea outside of the control of the usurping Zokonai Empire, where the dwarven Powry pirates and merchants sail. Okay. Yet the golden-skinned Zokonai have begun to encroach upon these waters behind the rapacious attacks of the frigate Crocodile, helmed by Captain Aketz. But when forced to submit, these sailors choose to live, free to do as they please, without some fool or another pretending to hold power over them. Okay, so Ari Salvatore brings together a misfit band of Zokonai, Powry, and human sailors, once enemies, now fierce friends with a common enemy, and the spark of rebellion in this action-packed piratical adventure. So there you go, high-sea stuff. And PINQUICKLE'S Folly will be out from Saga Press on April the 16th. And this next one is one that I'm very, very excited for. This is I'm Afraid You've Got Dragons, and it is a new asterisk, I'll explain that in a minute, book from Peter S. Beagle, legendary fantasy writer, author of The Last Unicorn, Fine and Private Place, so many wonderful books. I think I reviewed his book Tamsin as part of my SFF180 Retro series, so you can check that playlist and find it there, I'm sure. But let's see. Now, this book, I did a little reading up on it, and it has an interesting history. Apparently, it was meant to come out a long time ago, like 2005 or something. He had a deal with his imprint at the time that was handling The Last Unicorn, and they had done this anniversary edition of The Last Unicorn, and then they were going to do, this was a new book at the time, and they were going to kind of, something happened. Whether it involved revisions to this book or something to do with how they were marketing. I suspect also Peter S. Beagle's complete shit of a manager at the time, the guy he ended up suing, and there was all kind of legal craziness. That guy was scum. I have a feeling he may have gotten his nose into this problem. Long story short, publisher was like, okay, fine, and they dropped this book, so this book has just languished for 17, 18 years, but Saga's picked it up now. So there, that was a big long history of gossip and drama for you. Has nothing to do with the book, though. What does it say? It says, dragons are common in the backwater kingdom of Bellemontaine, coming in sizes from mouse-like vermin. Oh, now that's cute, a mouse-sized drag. All right, now we all want a mouse-sized dragon, don't we? All the way up to the fabled kings, which haven't been seen in an age. Gaius Aurelius Constantine Heliogabalus Thrax, who would much rather people called him Robert, has recently inherited his deceased father's job as a dragon exterminator, a career he detests with all his heart. Well, he should. Things turn from bad to worse when Robert is hired by the royal family to disinfest the entire castle, as Princess Cerise is determined to receive Crown Prince Reginald, with the shabby old castle looking its best. What happens next is not the fairy tale you may be expecting. So yeah, this is giving some Terry Pratchett vibes. I know, Beagle has had, witty fantasy books in the past. I mean, the whole thing with The Last Unicorn was that it is this meta. Last Unicorn was meta before being meta was cool. But this is it seems like it's an approach to comedy that's even, more whimsical than he's done before. So, I'm Afraid You've Got Dragons, available May the 14th from Saga Press, at long last. Next up, from the Random Penguin folks, this is a Berkeley release. A Haunting in the Arctic is the new book by C.J. Cooke. And I have actually read this already. I read it during some of the reading hangouts, and so I'll have a review of it coming up pretty soon. But this one, it says, it's a deserted shipwreck off the coast of Iceland, holds terrors and dark secrets in this chilling horror novel from the author of The Lighthouse Witches. The year is 1901, and Nikki is attacked, then wakes on board the Orman, a whaling ship embarked on what could be its last voyage. With land still weeks away, it's just her, the freezing ocean, and the crew, and they're all owed something only she can give him. Yes, content warning, sexual assault. All through this book. Now, more than 100 years later, the wreck of the Orman has washed up on the forbidding, remote coast of Iceland. It's scheduled to be destroyed, but explorer Dominique feels an inexplicable pull to document its last days, even though those who have ventured onto the ship before her have met uncanny ends. On board the boat, Dominique will uncover a grim past riddled with lies, cruelty, and murder. And her discovery will change everything, because she'll soon realize she's not alone. Something has walked the floors of the Orman for over a century, something that craves revenge. And so A Haunting in the Arctic, available now, by C.J. Cooke from Berkeley. And next up we have this one in hardcover, again from Harper Voyager, and this is Son of Blood and Ruin. The author is Marielle Lares, I believe. And yes, it's got one of those noun of noun and noun titles that I always make fun of, but for all that, it is not actually a YA. So, let's see what it has to say for itself. Rumor has it on the streets of 16th century New Spain, there's a new vigilante in town serving justice. This reimagining of Zorro, featuring a heroic warrior sorceress, weaves Mesoamerican mythology and Mexican history 2 decades after the Spanish conquest into a swashbuckling historical fantasy debut with magic, intrigue, treachery, and romance. Okay. So, for all you historical fantasy fans, a new legend begins. In 16th century New Spain, witchcraft is punishable by death, indigenous temples have been destroyed, and tales of mythical creatures that once roamed the land have become whispers in the night. Hidden behind a mask, Pantera uses her magic and legendary swordplay skills to fight the tyranny of Spanish rule. To all who know her, Leonora de las Casas, oh my goodness, okay, that's a Mesoamerican name, and I'm not just going to make a fool of myself. Anyway, Leonora, let's say, never leaves the palace and is promised to the heir of the Spanish throne. The respectable, law-abiding Lady Leonora faints at the sight of blood and would rather be caught dead than meddle in court affairs. No one suspects that the Spanish Inquisition! It's too good, it fits too well here. No one suspects that Leonora and Pantera are the same person. Oh my. Leonora's charade is tragically good, and with magic running through her veins, she is nearly invincible. Nearly. Despite her mastery, she is destined to die young in battle, as predicted by a seer. Well, I guess this isn't going to be a long-running series then. When an ancient prophecy of destruction threatens to come true, Leonora, and therefore Pantera, is forced to decide: surrender the mask or fight to the end. Knowing she is doomed to a short life, she is tempted to take the former option. But the legendary Pantera is destined for more than an early grave, and once she discovers the truth of her origins, not even death will stop her. Well, there you go. That actually sounds, pretty danged actionful, doesn't it? But Son of Blood and Ruin by Marielle Lares is available now from Harper Voyager. So moving on, got some of these white envelopes from Macmillan. And first off, from Tor.com, we have The Truth of the ALEKE, finished copy in hardcover by Moses Ose Utomi. And this is the second of his novellas in this series. The first one was The Lies of the Ajungo last year. It's the Forever Desert series, and apparently there is going to be a third one next year, and I don't know, maybe more after that. But it is an epic fable about truth, falsehood, and the shackles of history. So, 500 years after the events of The Lies of the Ajungo, the City of Truth stands as the last remaining free city of the Forever Desert. A bastion of freedom and peace, the city has successfully weathered near constant attacks from the cult of Tutu, who have besieged it for 3 centuries, attempting to destroy its warriors and subjugate its people. 17-year-old Osi is a junior peacekeeper in the city when the mysterious leader of the cult, known only as the ALEKE, commits a massacre in the capital and steals the sacred god's eyes. Osi steps forward to valiantly defend his home. For his bravery, he is tasked with a tremendous responsibility. Destroy the cult of Tutu. Well, all by himself? Jeez. Bring back the god's eyes and discover the truth of the ALEKE. Okay. Well, so this came out on the 5th, so it's available now from Tor.com. The second of the Forever Desert series by Moses Ose Utomi. And next up in the Macmillan pile, we have this physical arc from Tor.com. So this is nice. It's The West Passage. The author is Jared Pechaček or Pechaček, one of those. Should have asked. I could have asked the publicist, but I didn't. Sorry. Anyway, this comes out in July. Doesn't say exactly July what, but I mean, I have this in my anticipated fantasy video for this year, so you can just go back and watch that again. Look up what the actual day is. But The West Passage, journey down the crumbling corridors of the West Passage, a delightfully mysterious and visionary fantasy unlike anything you've read before, and fully illustrated by the author. Oh, okay. Oh my. Yeah, okay, so just hold that up so that it can be seen more or less, and I'll cut to a close-up of it. Okay, so it looks like a lot of these cute little chapter head type illustrations, like it's an illuminated manuscript or something. I think that's the look that he's going for. Well, that's kind of cool. Well, here's the synopsis. It says, "The ladies reign, the palace rots, the beast rises. When the guardian of the West Passage died in her bed, the women of Grey Tower fed her to the crows and went back to their chores. No, I guess she wasn't very popular. No successor was named as guardian. No one took up the fallen blade. The West Passage went unguarded. Now, snow blankets Grey in the height of summer, starving the denizens and foretelling the coming of the beast. The 2 young mother of Grey House and the guardian's unnamed squire set out to save their people. Their narrow shoulders bear a heavy burden, and the things that lurk in the West Passage defy imagining. None can say if they'll reach their destination, but one thing is for sure, the world is about to change." Okay, this actually sounds plenty fun. Yeah, quite a bit of fun. And certainly put together with a lot of gusto by its writer. So, The West Passage in July from Tor.com. And then I think that this is the last of the Macmillan titles this week. This is Projections, another one on my anticipated fantasy list. The author is S.E. Porter. S.E. Porter some years ago, I think, did a Russian-themed YA fantasy, Vasa in the Night, which is based on the same legend that The Bear and the Nightingale was based on, Catherine Arden's book. But anyway, this is new, and this is an adult, and looks, deeply creepy indeed. So let's see what it has to say. All prices are small when someone else pays them. True enough. Catherine Bildstein pays that ultimate price when she rejects fledgling sorcerer Gus Farrow, but death isn't enough to free her. Her ghost remains stuck to her obsessed murderer, even as he turns his attention to girls who remind him of her. Uh-oh. Okay, one of those. As Gus uses his magic to kill again and again, Catherine knows she must find a way to stop him and release her own trapped spirit in the process. Catherine may have lost her voice, her body, her dreams, and her life, but she hasn't lost her power. Projections is S.E. Porter's adult debut, a haunting, dark historical fantasy, exploring misogyny and the soul-corrupting power of unrequited love through an enchanted lens of violence and revenge. Okay, so, wow. All right, then. Available now from Tor, Projections. And now back to one more, looks like the last of these monstrous sealed packages from Random Penguin. And this is The Hidden Queen. This is a new book by Peter V. Brett. It's the second book in the Nightfall saga. The first book was The Desert Prince. I can't really say too much about it other than that it is set in the world of the Demon Cycle, which was the 5-book series that Peter Brett did before this one. Humanity thought the war with demonkind was over, and now after less than a generation to rebuild, the demon corlings have returned with a vengeance. So there you go. And beyond that, I won't spoil anything. Peter F. Brett seems to be a writer who is, fans are either hot or cold with him. He seems to be kind of polarizing. But people who like his stuff, I guess, really like it. But The Hidden Queen, Book 2 of the Nightfall saga, is available now. Came out on the 5th, so last week from Del Rey. Now, to wrap up, I've got 2 large boxes, kind of about this size. So they're going to have multiple books in them, obviously. This first one comes from Lee and Low Books, who are a wonderful imprint, and I feel kind of guilty that I haven't given them more coverage, because they do focus, I think, exclusively on books from, like, BIPOC authors, and so, and a lot of YA, too. But let's see what this one has. All right, and the first of these is The Longest Night in Egypt, and this is kind of nice to see. This is the sequel to a book called The Shadow Prince, and the author is David Anthony Durham. Now, David Anthony Durham started out writing like adult fantasy, of course. The Acacia trilogy, I believe, was his debut trilogy. And then did a couple of other things, and then he jumped right into, now his most recent work is this middle grade series, as you can tell by the cover. So The Shadow Prince, and now we have followed up with The Longest Night in Egypt. I like the cover, so it'll be very cute. So back at his evil tricks, Set, the devious god of chaos, has rid Egypt of the sun god Ra and plunged the kingdom into never-ending night. Uh-oh. He's even managed to trap the rest of the gods in a palace chamber without the use of their magic. Now demons run amok in the city, filling it with chaos and destruction. But hope is not lost. Ash, Prince Khufu, Seret, Gili, and 2 new friends, Athea and Iset, must brave the depths of the Duat, the spooky, cavernous Egyptian underworld, to rescue Lord Ra. Okay, I remember from Assassin's Creed Origin, in the DLC, you have to go to all these Egyptian afterlives, and the Duat was one of them. Okay, well, this looks pretty fun for the young readers and for people who are young at heart. The Longest Night in Egypt, sequel to The Shadow Prince by David Anthony Durham. And then next up is a book that I had no idea existed, because this is a new book by Nisi Shawl, who's the author of Everfair, and whose new book, the long-awaited sequel to that book, Kinning, has just come out from Tor Books. Well, this is called Speculation, and this looks to be a middle grade by Nisi Shawl. When her little sister breaks Winna's glasses, their grandfather gives Winna an old-timey pair of spectacles that belonged to her great-aunt Estelle. The specs are silver and perfectly circular, with tiny stars on the bridge and earpieces that curl all the way around her ears. But best of all, they're magic, you guessed it. Because when Winna makes a wish beginning with the words, "what if," that is, when she speculates, the spectacles grant it, spectacles that speculate. Winna wishes she could see ghosts, and soon she meets not only the real Estelle, but Estelle's grandmother, Winona. Nearly a century before, Winona escaped from slavery and ran north with her baby, Kay. But Kay was stolen from her under mysterious circumstances, and now Estelle and Winona have a mission for Winna: find Kay. He's still alive. He doesn't know the whole truth, and unless Winna can solve the mystery and bring him... Well, how's he still alive? I guess we'll find out how he's still alive. And unless Winna can solve the mystery and bring him home, a powerful curse called the Burden will smother their family's lives, and Winna's mom could be its next victim. Okay, this beautifully written historical fantasy by an award-winning science fiction author offers new twists and turns in every chapter, and will have you taking a fresh look at your own family's roots. Okay, so from Lee and Low, Speculation by Nisi Shawl. Well, that was neat. And following up, we now have, a big old box from Simon & Schuster to end the mailbag with. Okay, I wasn't expecting this, but I now remember the conversation that I had with the publicist. Delicious Monsters. This it was a pretty popular YA, I believe, from about a year ago. So this is not new, but I guess it's new to me. And the author is Liselle Sambury. But let's see, it's a haunted house thriller, packed with cryptic mystery, dark humor, and bone-chilling twists. What? I mean, it sounds up my alley all the same. Daisy sees dead people. something impossible to forget in bustling, ghost-packed Toronto. She usually manages to deal with her unwanted ability, but she's completely unprepared to be dumped by her boyfriend. Well, what boyfriend likes competing with ghosts? It's just difficult, I'm sorry. So when her mother inherits a secluded mansion in northern Ontario where she spent her childhood summers, Daisy jumps at the chance to escape. But the house is nothing like Daisy expects, and she begins to realize that her experience with the supernatural might be no match for her mother's secrets, nor what lurks within these walls. Okay then. Alright everyone, if I do say so myself, that was a hell of a book haul. Great mailbag this week. You guys know the drill. Light up those comments. Let me know which of these looks most interesting and exciting to you, and which you would like to see me prioritize for review. Otherwise, if you enjoyed watching, please hit that like button, share the video far and wide with all of your SFF reading friends, and above all, please sub. If you have not done so, that is how the channel grows. You can also support the channel at my TeePublic store and at my Patreon, where recruits into Wink's Army occasionally get little perks like early access to some of my videos, but mostly the purpose of the Patreon is to help me pay Matt Olson, my brilliantly gifted and talented channel artist who does all of my amazing thumbnails and channel art for me. So thank you all for that additional support. I also want to thank all the rest of you for being the very best viewers in all of BookTube, and until I see all of you next time, yeah, please show up at the Thursday night hangouts if you hadn't. But yeah, stay safe and healthy, and happy reading.